All right. So here we are. Calculate the total cost of a $150 item after tax. So all we would do is 1.12. I like brackets, folks, times 150. So then you just go 1.12 times 150. That'd be $168. $168. Okay. That would be including tax, right? After tax. Okay. How much was taxes paid? If the question asked taxes paid, right? How much tax did you actually pay? Well, you went from 150 to 168, right? So all you need to do is subtract those two amounts and you end up with $18 taxes paid. Like if they just ask for the taxes, you do it that way. Okay. C. So here it says calculate the taxes paid on a $5,785.99 purchase. All right, so we have I'm gonna have to do another roll call later, folks. But good that you're joining. But just make sure we're gonna figure it out by the end of this week. But just follow your timetable, your schedule, right, and just join us at the regular time, including Mondays, right? And Mondays I just won't have anybody physically in class. But if you missed yesterday, I talked about the fact that there are 17 Mondays. And so if we just didn't do anything on Mondays, we would actually be short probably 2 full units. Okay, so you need to be you need to cover all of that. And I mean, of course, we're gonna have some hiccups along the way, and we're gonna figure that out, and we're gonna learn from it and just improve. Test. I will try to test you in class, so it might be that we're testing only every second unit or so, and I might just give you a little quiz or something to make like just to have a final assessment of that unit. And so that test may be done online. Some of you will do it online, some of you will be here. So just make sure you join regularly on time because I'm going to start doing small quizzes, okay? And so you will have to do them at home and submit it to me. And the submission is going to be also a learning curve. I'm very sure of that. Okay, so calculate the taxes paid on a purchase, on this purchase. So all we need is the taxes. So the tax would be 0.12. Watch that it's just 0 because you just want the taxes, right? Times 5785.99. And so we figure that out. That's $694.32. Okay, so that's just the tax. Taxes only. Okay, so you got to watch out for the wording of the question. Okay, so D. calculate the total cost after tax. Calculate, determine, evaluate, that's all telling you that you have to do some calculations there, right? And I'm going to emphasize showing your work in some way, shape, or form so that I can always backtrack and see how it is that you're doing, okay? So here it's a little different. There are 2 bags at $3.99 each. And so we need to address that first. So we'll say 2 times $3.99, right? Which is 7, and that's always a dollar amount, right? So $7.98 if you multiply that by 2. We're going to add taxes to it. So because they want the total cost after tax, we can just use the 1.12, okay? What this does is it will take the 798 and add 12% to it in one shot. So some of you are used to finding 12%, then adding. This takes care of that in one shot. So 798 times 1.12, 894. Round it. So I think I'm going to do this because rounding is always an issue, right? So this is what your calculator shows you, but it is a dollar amount, so we need to round it. So that'd be, right? This would turn into a 4 because you have a 5 or greater right next to it. So this is your final answer. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is before I move on, sometimes students forget my email or they misplace it or whatnot, so I'm going to just reiterate. This is my email, so if you have any questions, right, it's there, and just email me and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. It would be nice if you tell me what grade you're in, what class you're in, because right now I'm not remembering names yet. So that'd be great if you could do that. We're doing good, folks here. Yeah, we've got a small group here, but they keep me company. All right, let's keep going. Bed mass. So again, these skills are all going to come back throughout the semester. Okay. So we have bed mass. I will call this evaluate the following expressions. Okay. So A, So I'm gonna this should be common knowledge. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of time, maybe 2 minutes or so, to come up with an answer here next to these expressions, right? It's an expression. It's just a bunch of numbers being multiplied or added. So go ahead and do that, and make sure you don't drop decimals early, okay? So if you're doing that in steps, do not drop them early. Don't round to 2 decimals along the way. You only round to 2 at the end, okay? So go ahead and try that. In the meantime, I'm going to try to figure out who joined after. Zandra, I saw you joining. Yeah, Sandra, you're here. Daniel, are you here? Reggie, are you here? Let's see you. Tessa, you're here. Okay, see you there. Christopher, I got you, Christopher. Yeah. Reggie, I don't see you. Montana, are you here? No. Sophia. Francis, you here? Okay. Arabella, are you here? Yes. Raga. Isaiah. Mason. No. Lucas, I see you there. Yeah, Lucas McDonald. And Luke Tenorio, I don't see you. Riley. No, don't see you. So 2, 4, 6, 14, 16. Sounds good. Okay, we're gonna go back here. And if you have a decent calculator, like I talked about the 2-line calculator yesterday, and that's not a phone, by the way. You can use your phone right now if you have to, but you want to have one that tells you what you're putting in, right? So 1250 plus 625 times 1.07 plus 50 times 1.05. So if it's in one line like that, your calculator is going to be really good at just figuring it out in one shot. Okay, so you get 1971.25. And it's not a dollar amount because there are no dollar signs anywhere. So we'll just leave it at that, okay? Okay. So we're going to continue. 3 times 1250 times 1.07. So I'm doing the next one, right? Plus 45 times 2.5 times 1.07. Again, if you have a decent calculator, you can do it all in one shot, right? So that is 160.5. Now, I think some of you, if you did this in steps, like if you did this first, you get, let me just take my calculator out of the way, you get 40.125. And for this chunk, you get 120.375. Now, some students round to 2 decimals here and here, right? And then you lose, you're rounding too early, okay? So if you want to break it down, make sure you use all decimals. Right? Use all decimals. We only round the final answer to 2 most of the time, okay? All right, so let's keep going. The next one, this one you have to be a bit careful, okay? When there's something happening inside brackets, you actually have to use brackets on your calculator. So I do have brackets, okay? So I go like that times 1.07, right? Plus 75 times 1.05. And you get that. You get 3021.25. Okay. Now, if you wanted to do it a different way, right, this would have given you 2750. You multiply that by 1.07, and then, right, so this would be one line of work. Okay, and then you find what 2750 times 1.07 is. This is 2942.50, or 5, I mean, plus 75 times 1.05. That'd be 78.75. And if you add the two numbers together, you get, right, you do get 3021.25. So both of them get you there. If you have one liner like that, and you have a decent calculator with brackets, you can actually do it all in one shot. That is fine, because this is most likely you setting it up like this. So you're showing us the work, coming up with the answer, okay? All right. Now we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem. So this is under trig, okay? So I know that for a lot of you, that's just going to be review, and I hope it is review, and but it comes up quite often in grade 10 and grade 11 and grade 12. It comes up over and over, okay? So you got to make sure you have that. So as you know, if you have a right triangle across from a 90, we call that the hypotenuse, okay? These two, the remaining two sides, are called legs, right? So that's a leg and that's another leg. You would probably know these as A, B, and C, like that. Okay. And that's normally the sides that are given, but it doesn't have to be. They could use any letters. So the theorem states that if you take the hypotenuse and you square it, right, that has to be exactly the same as squaring the legs and adding them up. That is what the theorem says, and that's only true for a right triangle. A right triangle only. Okay. So again, I'm seeing a lot of you joining after we've already started. That's good. Keep coming in whenever. Like, don't think, oh, I missed it, I'm now not going to join. You still join, but we're going to have classes every day, guys, except for in services and whatnot. So you join if you're not here physically. You join us online, just via Google Meet. Okay. So Pythagorean theorem, we have two cases. Case one, okay, I'm going to call this the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is unknown. Okay, the first case is the easiest one when the hypotenuse is unknown. So we're going to do one example here. So let's say this is 3 inches, 4 inches, and this is side C, which is unknown. Okay. In which case, right, we would say, well, following the formula that I just gave you, right, you would go C squared, whatever letter is associated with hypotenuse, by the way. This could be an M or an L, whatever, right? C squared is equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared, according to the theorem. So this is where teachers do it differently. Some teachers do the square root after. I'm going to tell you right away, I don't want C squared, I want C. And therefore, I need to take the square root of the other side. That's where I do it differently. Because I tend to have a lot of students forgetting to square root, and that's just makes you make silly mistakes, right? Then you keep the square root, you figure out what this is, right? 3 squared is not 6, right? That's 9. After a summer break, I get a lot of those, right? 3 squared is 6, 4 squared is 8. No, it's wrong, right? 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16 because you multiply it by itself. So watch how I do this on my calculator. So let me just scoot over. I would go 3 and then I use my x2 button, right? The square button. Or if you have the hat, you could use that button, like you could write it like that. That's 3 squared. If you have the yx button, some of you have an yx or an xy, they all do the same thing. So 3 squared plus 4 squared, that's 25. Okay, 9 plus 16. So you write that down. All decimals if you have decimals. So C is equal to, let's take the square root of our answer, because right now that you have a number inside the square root, you take the square root of that and you get 5. And we are in inches, so we make sure we have the inches there. Okay, so we're kind of going to skip this step right here from now on and go straight to here. If you know you're missing your hypotenuse, it's going to be like C, square root, grab the other two numbers, which we call the legs, right? And then just solve it. So it should be like 3 lines like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to make this one like this. And the 90-degree box is going to be up here. Sorry, here there was a 90-degree there. And so we're going to call this side X. We're going to call it 6.2 centimeters. And we're going to label this as 3.5 centimeters. 3.5, that is, yeah. All right, so again, when you look at this triangle, first observation, this is a right triangle. Second observation, it's the hypotenuse, right? Across the 90 is always your hypotenuse, by the way, right? You make an arrow, that's the hypotenuse. So you're missing your hypotenuse, so this is still case 1. Okay, so we're going to say this. To find the hypotenuse, which is now labeled x, we're going to take the square root of these two numbers squared and add it. It doesn't matter which order you do them in. Okay? And make sure you square them and you add them, right? So line 1, line 2 is going to be figuring out what these two numbers add up to. So I'm going to go 6.2 squared plus 3.5 squared, right? And that gives me 50.69. I'm almost there. Take the square root of that, and that's 7.11969, and it just keeps going, right? You don't have to do that. I'm just showing you that we have to round to 2 decimals unless otherwise indicated, and we are in centimeters. Don't forget your units. If there are no units, then you just leave it, right? No big deal. But you've got 2 examples. This is most likely what it should look like in your work, right? You don't have to have this line in there, but right, so it's 1, 2, and then 3 final answer. I think I will be able to fit another one in here. So I'm going to just box this corner off here, and I keep on breaking my lead here. Okay, so you have your right triangle. We're going to call this 71.8 miles. And this is going to be 325.2 miles. We're going to call this M. That's your unknown. So 71.8 and 325.2. And technically, we should be able to fit it in here if we just follow our system. These are not drawn to scale. Hi.
I'm supposed to be with you.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know why.
Okay. Well, welcome to the class. Are you, oh yeah, you're here for the whole period?
Well, see, it looks like this. I'm at the front door.
Okay.
So, 1:30.
Okay.
10 till 2.
Okay.
I don't know how much good I'm going to be.
Okay.
You have something you want me to do?
At this moment, I don't. But the main reason I had requested person is because at first I only had a group of 1. Like a group of 1, it sounds silly, but now I have 3 in here. So it should be fine.
Yeah.
Should be fine without. So I don't know, do you need me to email Lisa or?
Probably.
Okay.
Because you're tight. Give Brandon or Graydon?
No.
No way.
No, I had him last semester. Okay. Well, you can feel free to stay or to go. It's up to you. I'm just gonna do this here. All right. So.
It doesn't say anything. It just says cabin 3.
Okay.
Oh, what grade is it?
Grade 10.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up to you. You can just stay here for now, and then I'll email after the class. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you anyway. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
It's a stupid thing that I opened the doors until 1:30 by the time I put my junk in. Get here.
Yeah. No problem.
and we will be back.
All right. Thank
How
you.
do you get back into the school?
Those doors are open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So 325.2 squared plus 71.8 squared, because those are my two legs, right? We're going to figure out what that is. And, oops, I went 0.8. And that's a pretty big number, right? So 110, 910.28. Do not drop any decimals, okay? So you write them all down. Then you go square root of that, and you should get 333.03. And that we are in miles. And that's our final answer. Now, does it make sense to have that number? You always have to ask yourself, well, the hypotenuse should be the longest of the three, which it is, and it is within range of the numbers that you're given. So nothing extravagant, nothing like if you had said that this is your final answer, right? 110,000, that's a little bit extreme. It doesn't make sense within the context, all right? Okay, let's keep going. The second case now. Just gonna put this here. Case 2, where the leg is unknown. The leg is unknown. Okay, so example with a diagram. Okay, so let's say this is 10 meters, this is 8 meters, and this is A, which is unknown to us. Okay. So it doesn't matter which leg is unknown. As soon as one of them is unknown, you follow this method. Okay. I was telling you about the study sheet. Okay. You may add things that you've learned in here on your study sheet already, like the Pythagorean theorem. If you need to have something handy, then go for it. Okay. So this is how it goes. According to the Pythagorean theorem, this is true. Okay. This being your hypotenuse. So if C is my hypotenuse, right? So how about we label it? We'll just say this is B right now, and this is C for us, right? This is the hypotenuse. Okay. So we would substitute the 10 in for C, square it. A, we don't know what it is. B, we know it's 8, and we would square that. Okay. Now, we want A isolated. We want it on its own. So instead of adding 8, we're going to subtract 8 squared from both sides. So basically what you end up with is that A squared, which happens to be a leg, is going to be 10 squared minus 8 squared. That's just how it is. Okay, you have to subtract. Always the hypotenuse will always come first, the longest side, and you subtract the other leg from it. To get A on its own, you would square root 10 squared minus 8 squared. And then, so basically, at this point, it starts to look similar, but not quite to the first case. So we go square root, we find out what this is. So 10 squared is 100, 8 squared is 8 times 8, that's 64. Subtract those two, you get 36. If you find the square root of 36, you get 6, and we are in meters. So there it is. I'm just going to highlight the subtract. Okay, that's different than before, right? So this is the second case. And let's go and do another one. There's that, 77.31 inches. This is 90.45 inches. And they're asking us to find side N. All right, so let's try this one. You should recognize this is a right triangle. This is my hypotenuse. So that means that the one side that's missing is one of my legs, right? So watch what I do here. This is basically what it's going to be from now on. To find n, I need to take the square root of this one squared minus the other leg squared. Okay, that's just, you need to remember it's always the largest, and it's subtract because you're missing one of your legs. So it goes back to, right, this original where you have to basically bring stuff over and subtract, right? So n is equal to square root of, if you type this into your calculator, you get 2204.3664. And so n ends up being 46.95 inches. So I'm going to give you two here to try, and it's going to be one example of each case. All right. So here it goes. So this is 19.98. I know it's hard to see there. So try to solve for the unknown on both sides there. And then we'll do some more trig stuff. So tomorrow I have a bit of a, it's going to be more work based. So I still need you to log in, and we're also going to review SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so I don't know if you have done it in grade 9. If you went through Sisler in grade 9, you probably have done trigonometry, or Given that last year was an off year, I actually don't know. I cannot assume that. Okay. Have you, just the three here, do you know what SOHCAHTOA is at all? Sine, cosine, tan? Okay, never mind then. So that'll be, I'll have to wait for that then a little bit. Um, did you go through Sisler in grade 9? No, yes, yes. Sisler grade 9? Gurpal, yes? No, and no. Okay. Okay. All right, give this a try. I would like you to try based on your notes first, and then we'll do it together, okay? Give you a couple minutes. Try. All right. I think that'll be it for today, guys. So what case is this? This would be missing your, right? Missing one of the legs. So this one, you'd have to set it up like this. X is equal to square root. You grab the longest side, the hypotenuse, square it, and subtract the shorter one from it, square it. So I'm going to leave it there, okay? And then I'm going to come over to this side. K is my hypotenuse. So in this case, you started similarly, but now you're going to have to add the squares of the legs, okay? So you have to add, here you have to subtract, right? So I will put down case, this is 2, right? This is case 1, okay? So that's how it goes. And then you just go from there. So that would be 155.584. So x ends up being 12.47 meters. Here k is equal to square root of that's 31.81 inches. Okay, so you've solved both of them very similarly, but I would like to highlight the fact that there was a negative there and that there's a positive there, right? So that's the difference. And obviously, if you right, if you were to subtract here, right, and you solve for k, and this side k is shorter than either one of those legs, then you know you made a mistake, right? So use a little bit of common sense as well, and we'll go from there. Okay, so if you joined just now, make sure you join every day at the appointed time. The booklets, I'm handing them out as you come in. So Friday, the group that comes in on Friday is the last group that needs to come through the system here, and then everybody will have had the booklet. So then we're going to start using our booklet and going through it and filling in the booklet. That's a workbook, okay? So we'll just wait for the bell. Anybody say anything? So yeah, some of you are asking where to find the link. Uh, you just always click on if you have the app at the top of your class, like if you go to Google Class, you can just click on that camera. It takes you straight to our Google Meet. If you're on a computer or a browser, there's the link also. If you go to our class at the top, there's that link. You just click on it, it takes you here. If you're using the app, you should probably also download Google Meet, right? The app to make it smoother joining and whatnot. Okay. So